It is November 28th, 2022, and November 28th is actually my dad's birthday, and he would have been 74 today, but we lost him 25 years ago. And I've kind of been like moving a little bit slower today, so today is kind of like one of the harder days of the year for me because it's his birthday, and then tomorrow is like the hardest day for me because it is the anniversary of the car accident. But I will say in past years, or in recent years, a lot has changed in terms of kind of how I move through this day. And I think I really started my grief journey around my dad, maybe in like the end of 2018. I read this book, Option B, by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant, that she wrote after her late husband had passed away suddenly. And I think it was like an exploration of trying to better understand how people move through adversity and grief. And there were a couple things that I took away from that. I think that the first was that grief comes in waves. And even if it has been 25 years, there will still be moments when grief will come. I think there was another moment in the book where she talked about how everyone was recounting how they met their significant other and they just kind of like skipped over her. And we still very much have memories with the people who have passed and would love opportunities to remember those people rather than just focus on the fact that they're gone. So after reading that book, I ended up joining the Dinner Party, which is a community for millennials of people who have lost a loved one, and you fill out a form and they will match you with a group who might be at a similar stage to you. So keep in mind that like 2018 to 2019 timeframe are already over 20 years after my dad had passed away. But I think that that's when I felt ready to really explore my grief around his passing. And he passed away really suddenly. So we like celebrated his 49th birthday, and then the next day was the car accident, and he passed away. So the like big turning point, I think, happened in 2020. I decided that I was going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro because I think like on Black Friday or like one of the deals around this time, like this one travel company, Acanela, which is the company that I traveled with, was having like a huge sale. And they were like, you got to come to this February one. We're going to have like a whole film crew there. It's going to be part of this like travel series. And I was like, I'm not going to be ready for Kilimanjaro by February. But I was like, you know what? It would take some stress off of me if I don't have to worry about capturing this, and the film crew will, capture part of it. And wouldn't it be great for such an incredible like accomplishment and journey like this to have some more professional footage? The fascinating thing is that I ended up like capturing I have like no photo memories of my summit day. But anyway, so I decided I was going to do the February 2020 trip. And in January, I kicked off the year by going to Cambodia, flew back home to DC for my niece Zoe's birthday, and then flew to Belize for like a Summit Impact fellowship, came back. I think I was like back for a day, and then I was off to Tanzania. So I literally didn't like give myself any time to train, and then it was time to show up. So I wanted to share all of that background. Well, I guess maybe I should talk about like why I decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So in 2017 to 2018, I was dating a guy in Los Angeles, and he was a big hiker. And right around the time we first started dating, if that's what you call it, I think it was more of like a situationship. But we can save that for another daily update. But right around the time we met, I ended up hiking the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, and then he ended up hiking Kilimanjaro. Our relationship or situationship ended in like November 2018. So about a year and a half later, that was it. And then 2019, I kind of spent, that was like the year of like healing and play and falling in love with myself and feeling more confident about myself. I feel like I had like lost a lot of confidence and like put a lot of my own self-worth into this relationship. So anyway, 2019, I saw this Black Friday deal. I booked it on a whim. And maybe there was part of me in the back of my mind that was like, I'm going to do this and I hope he's still looking or something like that. I don't know. But this is no like thing to check off your to-do list. It is intense. So I showed up in Tanzania and I ended up doing the Marangu route, which I think is about like 4 or 5 days of hiking. You might want to double check. But I wanted to talk about my summit day in relation to thinking about my dad today, because my summit day was 16 hours. So I think we got up at like 1 in the morning and I didn't get back. What's that? That'd be 12 hours is 1 p.m. and then 5 p.m. Yeah, I didn't get back to like the hut until like 5 p.m. But I was probably one of the slower ones in the group, and I try not to like let it get to my head too much that I'm like slower than everyone. I'm also petite, but I just like, I don't know, I think I just like learned to move at my own pace. So I was slower than everyone in the group, but you know, every night we ended up sleeping in the same place. And on summit day, we all ended up at the summit, but at different times. So I was kind of in the slow group. I was with about three other guys from my group who were with me. And all of them were kind of experiencing like different levels of whether it was like altitude sickness or not eating the right thing and having an upset stomach, just like something was going on. So the final steps, like people kept looking at me and they're like your lips are turning blue, like you should turn back. But I was determined. I was like, if I'm going to hike Kilimanjaro, I'm going to go to the summit and I'm going to go take my picture there like everybody else. So those final steps, I had one of the porters kind of like carrying me on one side, and then I had one guy from our group carrying me from the other. And those final steps, I made it. And I think it only came to me later, but I had this like, I think I'll share this video again, but going into the hike, I think that my intention was around the word like surrender or play. And so here I was kind of like being carried by men to this summit. And up until that point, I think that, I don't know if you like call it daddy issues or who knows what, I had really been deliberate to surround myself by like strong women after starting my career in financial services. And then hadn't really like stopped since then. So here I was surrounded by men, and what ended up coming to me was, I was like, these guys are my dad. And my dad would love hiking Kilimanjaro because my dad loved being outside. He, like, no matter the weather, you know, here in the DC area, we've got seasons. No matter the weather, there was always some activity you could do. You could go swimming, you could go biking. Those were like the two that I remember. But I share all of that because I just had this like moment where I was like, channeled through these men is my dad. And my dad would love climbing Kilimanjaro with me. And I am the product of my dad, so he is climbing it with me. He's with me. And then it was time to descent, and there's like all this loose gravel everywhere. I forget what it's called, but you're kind of like skiing down. And that was like the most fun part. I was like channeling my inner child at that point. But that hike, that trek, I feel like hike doesn't do it service, was really a turning point for me in terms of my grief journey and how I viewed my relationship with my dad. Like, I feel like I finally maybe like forgave him, or I didn't hold on to so much sorrow about thinking that he was no longer here because he had given me so many gifts while he was alive. Sorry, still got a cold. So that is what I wanted to share. And so today I posted about him, and I talked about, I talked about the things that I had learned from him. And I will recap them here. But there was a period of time that I called my grief a monster. And I think that was the turning point in terms of starting to see grief as a gift. And I had a moment in like 2021 when Clubhouse was really big to like participate in a conversation around grief as a gift. Because I think grief is one of the emotions that we're the most terrified of. I think I learned that from Brene Brown. But if you surrender and let yourself go through that grief journey, you know, there are stages of grief, whether you view them as linear or not. But the last two stages are acceptance and meaning. And so much of what I do is, you know, like honoring that grief journey. But here are the things that I learned from my dad that I posted today. Number one was that everything is valuable. I gave you a tour of my childhood bedroom and all of my mismatched furniture and like furniture that are missing drawers. He just saw he just made use out of everything. And I really appreciated that. And I think he's instilled a lot of that in me in terms of just like being resourceful and like seeing value, trying to like see value in things and people. The second was that he just, and this is actually a memory I didn't remember, but he just took so many photos. I called this like savoring the moment. And now like as an adult, it's been so nice to go back and look at all the photos. Like literally any photo I have from my childhood was taken by my dad. And there's like a period of time where I like don't have any photos. And then I went through a weird phase where all I took photos of were the TV and TV shows that I was watching, but that is another. So I just like that he like captured everything, because like I know it's about like finding a balance between like how much do you like over document your life, but I mean, he just passed away so suddenly, and so to be able to like go back and have like all of these childhood photos, I'm really grateful. And then the third was just he was like an adventurer and an explorer, and he instilled so many of those values of like play and being outside and like seeing the world as my playground. And so to be able to like feel that connection with him when I went on that trek in Kilimanjaro but also kind of like feeling some version of that every time I go hiking or I hop on a bike. I just remember that. So I wanted to share all of that for my dad's 74th birthday. And thank you for listening to my grief journey. Bye, everyone.